helmet on your head, and you can visit here. You choose. You could even travel into the...
If you are a Marvel fan, then you are familiar with the concept of time travel. You probably daydream about going back in time to prevent that one awkward situation. The concept of time travel has been explored in many movies and books, yet the novelty of it hasn't worn off for a lot of people. It is exciting to imagine that there are people who walk among us who do not belong to our time. From aircraft in ancient Egyptian carvings to what seems to be a prophecy about the Titanic tragedy, here are 10 photos that can prove that time travel exists. Number 1. Shoe prints dated to be over 200 million years old. To a modern person, seeing a footprint is nothing special, except you are a crime detective.
Made some 80 million years ago, has been discovered in Bolivia.
Then, by all means, follow the clue. This shoe print found in the slate terrain is more than ordinary. In 1968, William J. Meister, a cartoonist and trilobite collector, found a shoe print in a slate terrain close to Antelope Springs in Utah. The shoe print had trilobite fossils inside of it. Note this: trilobites are marine arthropods that are already extinct. Meister dated the slate with the footprint to be between 505 and 590 million years old. Scientists did not accept Meister's discovery and attributed its occurrence to erosion and the passage of time. Maybe you are like the scientists and are currently doubting this discovery. Will you still doubt it if I tell you there was a similar finding in 1922 in Fisher Canyon, Nevada, by a geologist and mining engineer called John T. Reed? He found an impressive footprint in sediment dated back to the Triassic era. Reed's footprint discovery went a step further by claiming you could even guess the marks of the sewing thread used in making the shoe and the marks left by the continuous rubbing of the heel. Reed took his fossil discovery to the American Museum of Natural History and they rejected it, calling it the best imitation of an artificial object they had ever seen. How do you explain a footprint appearing millions of years before they were invented or before humans even walked the earth? Except dinosaurs somehow developed human-like feet and a taste for fashion before their extinction, it is weird to have shoe prints occurring at that time. You are probably familiar with wristwatches. You might even be wearing one right now. Have you ever heard of its brother, the ring watch? Coming up next on our list at number 2 is the Swiss watch. Although not as popular as its kin, the ring watch has been around for a while. But some think ring watches have not been around long enough to be found in a 400-year-old Chinese tomb. According to reports, archaeologists excavated a sealed tomb believed to have existed since the Ming Dynasty in Shaanxi, Western China in 2008. The team of archaeologists and journalists was said to have been filming a documentary when they stumbled on what was termed an out-of-place artifact, otherwise known as an O-parts. As if discovering a ring watch in a 400-year-old tomb was not enough of a shock, the watch was said to have an inscription that read, Swiss. Switzerland did not exist as a country during the Ming Dynasty, so this interesting find led to a number of theories. The most prominent theory was that the ring watch belonged to a time traveler who left it behind. Another theory stated that although the tomb was officially sealed before the archaeologists excavated it, somebody must have gone into it earlier and left the ring behind. Logically, you might be more inclined to believe the second theory, but where is the fun in that? The school of thought that favours the time travel theory has insisted that the archaeologists would have known if the tomb had been tampered with. There are others who believe the discovery was never even made, as details of the supposed finding are scarce. So what do you think? Is a Swiss ring watch in a 400-year-old Chinese tomb worthy evidence of time travel? Fashion has been said to be timeless, but there are times when certain outfits may seem odd, just like our next entry. Coming up at number 3 is a hipster in the 1940s. In case you are not familiar with this photo, this is not the photo of a fashion model. In fact, when this photo was taken, this type of dressing was not yet in vogue. You might be thinking, so what is wrong with that? Nothing. Except this was 1940, and people would normally not be wearing a hooded zip jumper, a printed t-shirt and sunglasses while also holding a portable camera. This photo was taken in 1941 at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Canada. It was digitized and uploaded in 2010 by the Canadian Museum and has since sparked several discussions on time travel. People have said the letters M on his t-shirt is a logo that was used by the Montreal Maroons, a team that played in the National Hockey League between 1924 and 1938. While portable cameras were not popular at the time, Kodak had already made several portable cameras available. This clip shows footage from a Charlie Chaplin movie called The Circus. If you don't know who Charlie Chaplin is, he is a comedy genius that deserves all his flowers, but that's not the point of this clip. At first glance, this might seem like a scene that just shows the extras passing by, and that is what it was until a film enthusiast known as George Clark spotted something unusual. We can see an elderly woman passing by with what seems like a phone held to her ear. You might be wondering what makes it so special. Well, it is the fact that mobile phones were not invented until 1973, and this is a clip from a 1928 movie. Some people have suggested that she might have been wearing a hearing aid. In 1924, Simons filed a patent for a device called the carbon amplifier, and their description of how the device worked is similar to how speakers in phones work, so it might be more plausible that the woman was using a hearing aid. George Clark claims to have studied the video for a year and insists that none of the theories he has been presented with justifies the woman's mannerisms in the video. Judging from the video, do you agree with George Clark? Do you think the woman was using a cell phone? The next entry on our list does not hold any suspicious items. It's his brain that is suspicious. Number 5. Stock market broker. The stock market could either make you or break you. In the case of Andrew Carlson, it never broke him. In fact, he was on such an unbelievable winning streak that the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, arrested him in 2003. The SEC thought, just like you are probably thinking, that he was definitely not doing clean work. He had to be running a scam, so they arrested him. During questioning, Carlson insisted that he was a time traveler. He said he came from 250 years in the future and already knew how the stocks would perform, so he wisely invested and got his impressive returns. I can't imagine the look on the SEC officials' faces as he spewed what they thought was bull. That is until they pulled up Carlson's records and found that he literally did not exist before December 2002. Creepy, right? What is even creepier is that Carlson did not attend his trial and has been MIA ever since. All efforts to find him have been futile. Sorry if you were thinking of asking him for advice on stocks. He seems to have traveled back to his own time. Do you believe Carlson's claim, or are you a very successful stockbroker yourself? Do you predict that sooner or later we'll have flying cars? Well, let's see how that goes. These ancient Egyptians seem to have also predicted something way ahead of their time. Number 6. Fighter jets in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. One of the things Egyptians are famous for, apart from their mysterious monuments and artifacts, are their beautiful hieroglyphs. Seti I Temple in Egypt is home to 3,000-year-old hieroglyphs that have been said to depict spaceships, helicopters, and submarines. Conspiracy theorists and pseudo-archaeologists have had a field day with these hieroglyphs since their discovery. These hieroglyphs are carved into the limestone walls of the Seti I Temple. The conspiracy theorists and pseudo-archaeologists named them helicopter hieroglyphs and believe that the ancient Egyptians could not have carved these writings unless they saw these aircraft or were inspired by somebody who had seen these technologies. Another popular conspiracy theory suggests that aliens were responsible for this. They claim these aliens brought the details of futuristic technology to the Egyptians. According to them, this also explains how the pyramid and other historical monuments were developed. These are really nice theories, but has anybody thought maybe an Egyptian was on a drug trip and saw things, so they decided to carve it out? Or is that too far-fetched? Fine, let's just believe in the aliens. If ancient carvings were not enough to make you consider the time travel theory, how about paintings instead? Number 7. The old painting with a man holding a modern device. Art is a wonderful means of expression. Not all of us can relate to somebody crying as they stare at an artwork, but we still appreciate the beauty of it nonetheless. Art offers us a way into the mind of the artist, which makes you wonder what late Italian semi-abstract painter Umberto Romano was thinking when he painted Mr. Pynchon and the settling of Springfield in 1937 to honor William Pynchon, a colonist who founded Springfield, Massachusetts. Now, I am not saying the painting isn't good stuff. It's beautiful, but it has also led many to wonder whether Romano was inspired by a time traveler or he was one himself. A close-up of the painting shows a man holding a modern device. Art historians have dismissed the time travel theory as nonsense. Number 8. Vladimir the Vampire. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has been a leader in politics since 1999, when he first became Prime Minister of Russia. He first became the President of Russia in the year 2000 and has since held the President and Prime Minister positions alternatively, almost like a birthright. He is known for his ruthlessness as seen in the most recent Russian-Ukraine war and his budding friendship with another tyrannical leader, Kim Jong-un of North Korea. This photo was taken in the 1920s, after the end of World War I, and it shows a soldier with a striking resemblance to Putin. It has led many to believe that Putin's love and servitude for his beloved Russia might have spanned more than a century. Another photo in 1942 shows a Russian soldier in World War II who also bears a striking resemblance to Putin. Putin was born in 1952. These photos have fueled the conspiracy theories that Putin is either a time traveler who loves his country enough to go back in time to fight for it, or a vampire. Judging from his reputation, not many people will be surprised to learn he is a vampire. He has more than enough blood on his hands as proof anyway. Number 9. Futility by Morgan Robertson. We have all heard of the Titanic, the so-called unsinkable ship. The movie Titanic, released in 1997, further spread the fame of the tragedy of the actual Titanic. Spoiler: Jack and Rose are not real people. That love story did not exist on the actual Titanic. Sorry about that, people, but if you're like Keke Palmer, who believes Jack did not have to die and they could have taken turns on that floating door frame, let us know in the comments. Now, did you know that 14 years before the Titanic tragedy happened, there was a book called Futility, written by Morgan Robertson? The book was about a British ship called the Titan that was sunk by an iceberg. The plot was so eerily similar to the Titanic tragedy that people theorized that Robertson was a time traveler that already knew about the tragedy and went back in time to write about it. After the Titanic sank, Robertson's book gained a new wave of attention, so much so that he had to come out to disprove the theory. He said that the similarities were purely coincidental, and the details of the Titan were based on his extensive knowledge of shipbuilding and his belief that an iceberg was the most probable way to sink a luxury ship. Conspiracy theorists were not convinced. They still compare paintings of the Titanic to the front cover of Futility. Maybe one of the builders of the Titanic and somebody on the crew read Robertson's book and decided to play a sick joke. Do you believe Robertson's claims? Or are you leaning more towards the time travel theory? Share your thoughts in the comments below. At number 10 is Tyson's comeback match. The year 1995 brought with it a number of historic events, from what is known as the trial of the century to various scientific discoveries. One very notable event amidst all these is Mike Tyson's comeback match. Tyson had just finished a 3-year prison sentence and was all pumped for his comeback. He fought Pat McNeely at the MGM Grand in what was a huge event. Did he win? Of course he did. But in recent years, that did not matter much after netizens and conspiracy theorists spotted something unusual in the crowd. A man is seen holding a cell phone with which he takes photos of Tyson. What makes this weird is that, at the time, none of the cell phones could take photos. So conspiracy theorists have attributed it to time travel. This theory has been disproved by people who believe that the man was holding a small camcorder like the Logitech Photoman that was available in the 1990s. This seems like a more plausible explanation, but it's not too far-fetched to think that a time traveler with taste could have gone back in time to watch the iconic watch. If you could time travel, which historical event would you like to watch in real time? Let us know in the comments. We have come tea. Which of these photos made you believe in time travel? Share your thoughts in the comments.